you didn't see it coming. One day you were in the warmth of her presence, and the next, you were standing alone in a silence so sharp, it almost had a sound. Her absence doesn't just leave a space in the room, it becomes a mirror, showing you the hollowed-out places inside yourself. Every spot she once filled now reflects a part of you that feels abandoned, unguarded, exposed. It's not just sadness, it's a primal jolt. The breakup hits your nervous system like a threat, triggering that ancient fight-or-flight response you can't control. Neuroscience confirms it. The end of a relationship can register in the brain the same way as physical trauma. Your heart pounds, your stomach knots, your body braces for an attack that never comes. And yet, it's not a predator you're running from, it's the empty space she left behind. Underneath that physical shock lies another wound, one that cuts into your sense of manhood. For men, rejection can feel like a direct challenge to their masculinity. It's not just that she left, it's the unspoken suggestion that you weren't enough, that you failed some invisible test. Pride and status, two pillars of how men define themselves, take a hit. And suddenly you're not just hurting, you're questioning your worth. Beneath the grief is a quiet, relentless desire to reverse the loss, to be the man she regrets walking away from. You want her to look back and realize she left something rare, something she'll never find again. You imagine changing the dynamic, shifting the story until she's the one chasing you. But that hope, seductive as it is, keeps the wound raw. Every time reality doesn't match that fantasy, the cut goes deeper in the middle of the storm. Your instincts push you toward control, toward fixing the situation right now. But that's where the trap waits. You start reacting to every small signal, real or imagined. You picture her with someone else, a man who seems to effortlessly command her attention in ways you never did. That comparison is poison, feeding the belief that you weren't enough, that you weren't alpha in the way she secretly wanted. And with no clear signs from her, you're left in limbo, wondering if she's truly gone or just watching from a distance. Here's the truth. Few men hear. In many cases, the breakup hit her hard, too possibly harder in the beginning. Research shows women often feel the emotional blow more intensely right after the split, even if they seem to recover faster. She may have walked away not because she didn't feel, but because she did so much that staying hurt more than leaving. This doesn't excuse her choice, but it reframes it. She isn't necessarily cold. She may simply be running from her own pain. And yet, hidden in that pain is the seed of your transformation. Without her, your world may feel stripped, bare like a field after a violent storm. But the ground is still there. And in the quiet, you can plant something new. This absence, as brutal as it feels, is also an opening. A chance to find the version of you that exists without her reflection. If you can hold steady in this silence, if you can resist the pull to chase or cling, you will discover a strength she never saw, and maybe you never saw either. There's a moment in every relationship when a woman starts giving a man an invisible test. She doesn't announce it. She doesn't even consciously know she's doing it. It's not a game in the sense of manipulation. It's deeper, primal, wired into her instincts over thousands of years of evolution. She's testing one thing. Can this man hold his center when the ground shakes beneath him? The test doesn't come with clear rules. It might arrive as a subtle withdrawal of affection, a question laced with hidden meaning, or a sudden change in her mood. She might stop responding as quickly, start mentioning other men casually, or challenge your opinion in ways she never did before. On the surface, it can look like she's just distracted, stressed, or even losing interest. But under the surface, she's unconsciously scanning for signals about your emotional stability, your confidence, and your place in her world. Men fail this test all the time, and not because they're weak or unworthy. They fail because they react instead of respond. They take the bait, leaning forward when they should be leaning back. They flood her with reassurance-seeking texts, demand explanations, or get defensive. Each of these moves broadcasts insecurity, and once she senses insecurity, her attraction begins to erode. Here's the twist. This test isn't about perfection. She's not looking for a man who never stumbles. She's looking for a man who can stumble without falling apart. A man who doesn't need her approval to know his worth. When you overreact to the smallest shift in her behavior, you're signaling that her emotional weather controls you. And no woman can fully trust a man who can't steer his own ship through a storm. Think about it like this. In nature, the female wolf doesn't choose the loudest, flashiest male to lead the pack. She chooses the one who stays calm under pressure. The one who holds the line when resources are scarce. Your version of that calm isn't about ignoring her or acting indifferent. It's about anchoring yourself so deeply in your own purpose that you can meet her shifts without losing your balance. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. Suppression is just another form of insecurity. It's pretending you're unaffected when inside you're boiling. True strength is being aware of your emotions without letting them dictate your actions. That's the part of the test most men never pass. Staying emotionally available without being emotionally dependent. When she feels you pass this test, when she sees that her mood swings, silences, or provocations don't knock you off center, some primal clicks inside her. Respect grows. Attraction deepens. Trust forms. She realizes she can lean on you when life gets rough, and that's when she feels the pull of your gravity. Fail the test, and you become another man. She can't lean on another man she has to step away from to protect her own emotional security. The hard truth. You may already have failed this test without even realizing it. The missed calls you panicked over. The sarcastic comment you took too personally. The little signs you chased instead of letting come to you. But failing once doesn't mean you're doomed. It means you've been shown the blueprint for your own growth. And growth starts with recognizing that the real test isn't about her at all. It's about whether you can lead yourself, with or without her approval. A man's true power in a relationship is rarely about muscles, money, or charm. Those things might catch her attention, but they don't hold it. What keeps her orbiting around you, what makes her feel both safe and drawn in, is your emotional authority. It's an invisible force, like gravity. You can't see it, but she can feel it in every word you speak and every decision you make. Emotional authority isn't about control over hurts, about control over yourself. It's the ability to stay grounded when emotions, yours or hers, rise like a sudden storm. Most men lose their authority the moment they start reacting to a woman's shifting moods. They get pulled into her emotional current, swept away in her frustration, anxiety, or fear, until they're no longer lending their following. And in that moment, attraction quietly begins to drain away. Women instinctively test this authority. Not to be cruel, but because nature wired them to seek out a man who can maintain stability when she can't. If her emotions are the ocean, she wants to know if you're the lighthouse, steady, unshaken, guiding the way, without needing to chase the waves. The moment you start chasing, you stop leading. Think back to the last argument you had with a woman. Did you escalate, raising your voice to match hers? Did you retreat completely, shutting down and withdrawing? Both are failures of authority. Escalation shows you've lost control. Withdrawal shows you're afraid of the storm. Emotional authority lives in the middle. It's the calm voice that cuts through the noise without raising the volume. The grounded presence that says, I'm here, I'm steady, and I don't need to overpower you to hold my ground. This gravity is what makes a woman trust you with her vulnerability. Without it, she will feel like she has to lead herself, and if she has to lead herself for too long, she will eventually lead herself out of your life. That's the brutal truth. Many men learn too late. Emotional authority is not optional. It is the foundation of long-term attraction. Here's the paradox. Emotional authority requires that you care deeply without depending entirely on her response. It means loving her fully, but never from a place of need. A man who needs her validation to feel whole will always be in a position of weakness. A man who knows his value before she walks into the room will carry a gravity that pulls her in without force. This isn't theory, it's biology. In evolutionary terms, women looked for men who could protect, provide, and maintain order when chaos threatened the group. That same instinct plays out today, just in subtler forms. If you can't maintain composure when she's upset over something small, she will doubt you in bigger storms. But if you can hold steady when she's at her most unpredictable, you become the anchor she never knew she was searching for. Emotional authority isn't a performance, it's a habit. You build it every time you pause before reacting. Every time you speak from clarity instead of impulse. Every time you choose presence over panic. Do this enough, and you become the man whose gravity she can't escape, not because you've trapped her, but because she feels safest in your orbit. In economics, scarcity drives value. Diamonds aren't rare because the earth can't produce more carbon. They're rare because only a fraction form under the exact pressure, heat, and time required. Desire works the same way. What is scarce is valued. What is always available fades into the background, taken for granted. When you were with her, your presence was constant. You answered every call. You were available for every plan. You rearranged your priorities to meet her needs. And while part of that came from love, part of it came from fear. The fear that if you weren't always there, she might start looking elsewhere. But the paradox is brutal. The more constantly present you are, the less impact your presence has. Scarcity doesn't mean playing games or pretending to be busy. It means understanding that your attention is a currency, and the more you spend it without discernment, the less it's worth. In relationships, mystery and space aren't luxuries, they're oxygen. Without them, desire suffocates. This is why some women seem drawn to men who give them less. It's not that these men are inherently better, it's that they manage their availability. They aren't on demand. They have their own priorities, their own gravity, their own life outside of her. That life becomes the unspoken challenge, the silent invitation. She wants to be part of it, but she can't buy her way in with mere interest. Has to earn her place. The scarcity effect works in reverse, too. When you flood her with attention after she's pulled away, you're signaling abundance in the wrong direction. You're showing that no matter what she does, you will always be there, waiting. That's when she starts to feel safe, taking you for granted. Not because she's cruel, but because her instincts are telling her that you will never leave, never pull back, never create the space that makes her want to close the gap. Look at it in nature. A watering hole that never dries up doesn't attract urgency. Animals come and go casually because they know it will be there tomorrow. But the watering hole that appears only in certain seasons, that's the one they guard, fight for, and remember. Your presence should be like that, steady enough to build trust, scarce enough to keep her thirst alive. Scarcity doesn't mean withholding love or affection out of spite. It means aligning your availability with your self-respect. It's recognizing that you are not a resource to be exploited, but an experience to be valued. You create this by building a life so rich, so full of purpose and momentum, that being with you feels like stepping into a rare opportunity. When a woman senses that your life will continue with the same energy and drive, whether she's in it or not, she experiences a subtle shift. She no longer assumes your presence, she starts to work for it, and that work rekindles desire. It transforms the dynamic from you chasing her attention to her seeking your presence. That is the scarcity effect in its purest form. Most men approach a breakup from a position of loss. They see themselves as the one left behind, stripped of something precious, scrambling to recover what was taken. Every thought revolves around her, what she's doing, who she's with, whether she's thinking about you at all. This frame keeps you powerless. It makes her the center of the story, and you a supporting character in your own life. But here's the truth. Frames are chosen. You can't always control the events, but you can control the lens through which you interpret them. And the lens you choose determines whether you spiral downward or rise into a version of yourself you've never met before. The emotional reframe is simple, but it's not easy. Instead of seeing the breakup as a subtraction, you see it as a release. Not, she left me, but life removed what was holding me back from my next evolution. This doesn't mean you lie to yourself or pretend the pain isn't real. It means you decide that the pain will have a purpose. That purpose is growth, not regret. Think of it like a forest fire. At first, all you see is destruction, trees, ash, where there used to be life. But ecologists know that certain seeds can only sprout after intense heat. Without the fire, the next generation of growth never happens. Your breakup can be that fire. You can let it burn away dependency, complacency, and the smallness of the man you were when you needed her approval to feel whole. This reframe also changes how you see her. Instead of making her the judge of your worth, you see her as a mirror that reflected where you were weak. She exposed the cracks, yes, but those cracks were already there. And now you know exactly where to reinforce. She didn't ruin you. She revealed you. That's a gift most men never get, because they avoid looking that deeply at themselves. Here's where this shift becomes powerful. When you start operating from the frame that you are the prize, you stop moving from desperation and start moving from selection. You stop trying to convince her you're worthy and start acting like you already are. That energy changes everything, not just in her perception, but in your own. You walk differently. You speak differently. You no longer measure your value by whether she texts back, and women feel that shift instantly. The same woman who was pulling away may find herself leaning back in, not because you chased her, but because she can feel that you no longer need her. The paradox is that by releasing her, you create the conditions where she might choose you again, but by then, you'll be so grounded in your own authority that whether she returns or not won't define you. This is the emotional reframe that changes everything, moving from "I lost her" to "I found myself." When you live from that frame, the breakup stops being the worst thing that ever happened to you and becomes the turning point that forged the man you were always meant to be. The most powerful comebacks are the quiet ones. No announcements. Number. Social media displays. No pointed "look how well I'm doing without you" posts. Just a slow, deliberate transformation that speaks louder than any words ever could. This is the essence of the silent reconquest, not chasing her back, not convincing her to see your worth, but becoming so undeniably solid that the gravity of who you've become pulls her curiosity toward you without a single move on your part. Most men make the mistake of trying to reclaim a woman through constant reminders of their existence. They text, they accidentally bump into her. They drop subtle hints in mutual circles. What they don't realize is that this noise doesn't rebuild attraction, it smothers it. Desire needs space. And in that space, the image of you must grow, not shrink. The silent reconquest begins when you redirect all the energy you once gave to her back into yourself. That means building your body, sharpening your mind, advancing your career, and deepening your connections with people who truly value you. You stop trying to prove your worth to one person and start living in a way that makes your worth self-evident to everyone. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. At first, she might not notice, or she might dismiss it as a phase. But over time, as your changes solidify, the whispers reach her. A mutual friend mentions you're in the best shape of your life. She hears you've started a new project. She sees a candid photo where your eyes carry a different, wetter steadiness she didn't remember. This is how the seed is planted. What makes this reconquest silent is that you're not doing it for her. That's the paradox when you no longer need her validation. The quality of the man you're becoming becomes magnetic. She starts to wonder if she underestimated you. If she left at the very moment you were about to step into your prime. That question lingers, and it's far more powerful than any plea for another chance. There's also an unexpected effect. The silent reconquest changes you so deeply that by the time she feels drawn back, you may no longer want what you once chased. Because the man you've become no longer sees her as the missing piece. He sees her as one chapter in a much larger story. The true victory in the silent reconquest isn't getting her back. It's reaching the point where you no longer need to. When you've rebuilt yourself from the ground up, when your life is rich with purpose and forward momentum, her return becomes irrelevant to your happiness. And that's when the reconquest is complete, not because you won her, but because you won yourself. There comes a moment when you realize the story truly is over. Not maybe she'll come back, not if I just show her I've changed, but a full, unshakable acceptance that the chapter is closed. That moment feels brutal, like standing in an empty room where her presence used to echo. But in that silence lies a rare opportunity. The chance to burn the bridge so completely that you can never walk back across it. The final break is not about anger, revenge, or proving a point. It's about reclaiming all the energy you've been spending on her, energy you've been bleeding out without realizing it, and channeling it entirely into yourself. It's about making the decision that you will not let this ending be the thing that breaks you, but the thing that forges you into something harder, sharper, and unshakable. Think of a blacksmith at the forge. The raw metal isn't shaped by comfort, it's shaped by heat and impact. Every hammer strike is a trial, every spark a reminder that the process is violent but necessary. Your heartbreak is the furnace. Your choices now are the hammer. Each disciplined action you take, whether it's cutting off contact, setting new goals, or building a body and mind that can't be ignored, is another strike shaping you into a weapon against your own weaknesses. The fuel here is pain. Most men waste it. They numb it with distractions, rebound relationships, endless scrolling, or self-pity. They burn through it without building anything. But if you learn how to direct it, pain becomes the most potent energy source you'll ever have. Nothing else will push you as far, as fast, as the desire to never feel powerless in the same way again. This is the stage where you stop negotiating with yourself. You cut the bad habits you've been making excuses for. You upgrade your environment, so it pushes you forward instead of pulling you back. You begin to live as though the man you want to become is already watching you, judging your every choice. And over time, you realize he is, because that man is your future self. The final break is about becoming so committed to your own evolution that the past loses its grip. Not because you forgot her, but because the life you're building is too big to fit her ghost into it. And here's the secret no one tells you. When you truly reach that point, you don't just survive the end, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Dangerous to your old limitations. Dangerous to the part of you that ever believed you needed someone else to complete you. When you turn the end into fuel, you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start saying, good. Now watch what I build from it. And that's the moment you stop being the man who was left, and start becoming the man no one dares to leave. Every breakup feels personal. It cuts into the part of you that believed love was permanent, that she would always choose you, that your bond was stronger than the forces pulling you apart. And in those first moments, it's tempting to believe the story is over, that you've lost something you can't replace. But the truth, if you're willing to face it, is that this wasn't an ending. It was a summons. A summons to step into a higher version of yourself. To confront the weak spots you ignored when things were comfortable. To sharpen edges that had dulled. To rebuild foundations that had started to crack. Her absence wasn't just a loss, it was an invitation to prove, to yourself and to the world, that you are not defined by who stands beside you, but by the man you are when you stand alone. The journey you've walked through silence, scarcity, authority, reconquest, and the final break has not been about winning her back. It's been about winning back yourself, and that's the kind of victory no one can take from you. When you hold emotional authority, when your presence has gravity, when your life is rich with purpose that doesn't depend on her validation, you become something rare in this world, a man who is free. This freedom changes everything. It's the reason people are drawn to you without knowing why. It's the reason your voice carries weight, your eyes hold steadiness, and your decisions inspire trust. You are no longer moved by the tides of someone else's approval. You are the tide. If she comes back, it won't be because you begged or proved yourself fit, will be because she feels the magnetic pull of the man you've become. But here's the irony. By the time that happens, you'll be in a place where you no longer need her return to feel complete. Her presence will be a choice, not a requirement. And if she doesn't come back, your life will still be full, rich, and unstoppable, because you've built it that way. In the end, this isn't about her at all. It's about becoming the man she couldn't break, the man who turned pain into fuel, absence into power, and loss into the foundation for his greatest evolution. That's the story worth living. That's the man worth being. And that man, once forged, never goes back.